All right, so we're recording. So hi guys, Solomon here, talking about fatherhood after 40, and I'm learning a ton. I think I know some like basics, like life sustaining stuff. I'm hoping for a child, having 5 sisters, 3 brothers, and I'm the second oldest. But probably close to a year ago, during a dance class, as I always try and keep my brain young, I met Mila with 2 L's. And I was most impressed, not by her smile, although very nice. I was most impressed by her patience and her healing powers naturally after me stomping on her foot over and over and over again during the dance moves. So, but eventually, we were talking and she told me she was a doula, which first of all, I thought she said she liked like Paula Abdullah, which I thought was awesome, but I really didn't know what a doula was in any way. But then I discovered she's not going to like this, but it's kind of like a nanny situation with a lot more knowledge, kind of like I think, cross between a nanny and a nurse is like my view on it. But she's going to share more of exactly what she does. And then there's like a birth and like a pre-doula, and then there's a postpartum doula, which is really what I want to get into later. So why don't you explain the Greek word and all that other stuff as a server?
Okay, yeah, so doula, thank you for the introduction. Doula means, is a Greek word that means the one who serves, and it's now a formal profession where we serve emotional support, information for the family who is planning on having a baby or is pregnant or even adopting, and hands-on support in order for this woman to be able to cope during childbirth. So that's what I do as a birth doula. And there's also the postpartum doula who stays in the family, goes for a certain amount of hours, and she can be overnight, caring for the baby or offering any help that the family might need. She can run errands. She can prepare meals and do some housekeeping to a certain degree. Of course, she's not going to be doing anything heavy duty, but this is in order to support this family with this fresh start of a new baby that is so hard sometimes. So that's what a postpartum doula does. I hope it's a little more clear now that I'm saying, but as we talk, we can go deeper.
Okay, so let's go from like kind of the beginning. So first semester, second semester, third trimester, what, when would somebody start like having a conversation with you, like about preparing for the birthing process?
All right, well, I forgot to say congratulations from the bottom of my heart. I'm really happy for you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So as soon as the family feels a need, so if you found out you're pregnant or adopting a child and you need help, you can get in touch with a doula, and then both the family and the doula can decide when is the best time. Usually it's towards the end of pregnancy, more like towards on a third trimester, then that we start visiting, but we can be in touch over the phone. But it all depends. It's a unique situation where if the family, like sometimes the woman is very anxious and she needs to sit down and talk with someone and have support, or sometimes the doula has some other things that she can offer. Like I offer prenatal yoga, so we can do prenatal yoga during the whole pregnancy and then start doing the doula sessions towards the end or something like that. It's very unique and addressed to the family situation and needs.
So, okay, awesome. And then we're going to talk about the investment, because I think people are going to be thinking like, I wonder what this costs, and it covers by insurance. But before we do that, I know that you were in psychology before this. So do you find that most doulas, it's like a second career kind of thing? Like it kind of becomes like their calling and their passion. Do some people do it part-time? Or do some people just start like immediately as their career? Or, like where do people like find to become doulas?
Well, there's all sources of people and all sources of choices in terms of being a doula, right? So some women do work as doulas full-time. They have a huge clientele and they've worked on that for years, and now they are established and that's what they do full-time. Meaning, like sometimes they are also childbirth educators doing childbirth classes, other things regarding birth and postpartum as well. Myself, I offer some workshops and one-on-one sessions, but I am not a full-time. But usually, usually it's something that you need to have certain amount of clients, right, in order to make this your career, like your only job. You can do things in parallel. I am a psychologist first. I used to work as a psychologist in Brazil, and that gives me a good background in terms of supporting my clients, since I can offer active listening and some other skills as a psychologist, although I don't work as a psychologist.
Got it. What made you decide to, you came from Brazil 6 years ago for the love of your life. And then, and you, how many kids do you have now?
I have a 3-year-old.
A 3-year-old that just ate
just
pancakes.
brought me his puppet to hold for him.
That's awesome. And he also just ate some pancakes, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah,
So,
he loves blueberry pancakes.
What made you decide to go from psychiatry or psychology, whichever one, to doulaing?
I started falling in love with birth during my yoga training in Brazil. In my anatomy classes, my teacher introduced us to the concept of humanized birth, which is a movement in Brazil supporting women to deliver naturally or vaginally, at least, since there is a high rate, like close to 90% rate of the births as cesarean sections. So in Brazil, they do that by
95% of women have C-sections now?
In Brazil, close to that percentage. It's absurd. Usually a cesarean is surgery performed because of an emergency or because of a special need that woman has. She might have experienced sexual abuse, or she's not ready to deliver vaginally and she needs to schedule a cesarean. There are cases.
What are the percentages in the US?
I am not sure. It's been a while since I've checked. It's high. It's high too, but it's not as strong as in Brazil.
My sisters have had some C-sections, and I have some friends, but I feel like whenever they had it, there was like a complication. It wasn't just like standard of care from what I knew.
Yeah, yeah. Some doctors, like when you're planning on having a baby, you should check. You should check this doctor. Look online, and you can see the percentages of births that this doctor has attended. There were vaginal, natural, or cesareans. And if this doctor has a high rate of cesareans, that means that this doctor favors cesareans. So if you don't want that, if you want a vaginal birth, then you should change providers.
Do you just Google search the doctor's name, or is there like a website that gives you stats on that doctor?
There is websites. I don't have it on top of my head, but if the person has a doula, or if a little patient researching, or even call the hospital, or they might be able to provide that info.
Awesome. So the next part for me was like so my wife is from China. The goal was originally her parents would come, right around the birth time, and her mom and dad are like super excited to like be involved in the baby's life. And I thought, like, for me, boy, this is Yahtzee, right? Like, they want to be super involved and they're going to come and be helpful. And my wife has no experience really with children, so she would have support and everything from her mom, which I think is pretty traditional. However, now with COVID, her parents have zero ability to get here at all. Even if she wanted to go back with the baby, she can't go back. Like, there's all this quarantining plus, but then there's no way to get a visa now. So that's where we kind of started with trying to find somebody locally, even just like you were saying, like emotionally. And, I think there's like two sides of it, right? There's like the emotional side, and then there's like the technical side of like, how do you swaddle, and how do you I don't know, like that's the only word I can think of. So what are your thoughts on all that, and like the difference between postpartum doula and a nanny or a babysitter, or like what are the different options and like the pros and cons, and maybe even like the investment of the different things?
Okay, good. That's very straightforward question. Yeah. So yeah, it is hard for anyone to bring a baby into this world to begin with. It's not always like so beautiful and easy as it's shown on the movies or on commercials on TV. It is a pretty strong experience. And now with COVID and the families being apart, and many families are suffering from feeling alone and lost in this process. And the doula is one of the solutions. The doula mothers that mom. Like,
I read that. That's awesome. That's a great way to look at it.
it is, and in a professional way, right? There's also building community and trying to keep in touch with the other women. They are going through the same, other pregnant women, finding groups. Now you can do that online easily. There's also some women that create some groups, like more private and with less amount of people, for them to exchange their experiences and feeling supported by each other. So that's very helpful, and it prevents postpartum depression as well. He's coming here.
We'd like to meet him.
Oh, he just left.
He left. He doesn't want to be part of this.
Still in pajamas. Anyways, and finding this support, if I could advise anyone, I would try doing everything. Having a group of women that think alike, some friend that could offer you support. If you're planning on having a baby, have a list of people that could help you. Write those names and phone numbers and put in the refrigerator, somewhere where you can see, so you can find help ASAP. And the doula, since we are talking about this career, this profession, is the one who is going to mother you and take care of you in a professional manner. So you feel taken care of, so you can feel rested. And responding about the postpartum doula, I am not a postpartum doula. I'm just a birth doula. I decided to focus on that. But the postpartum doula is different from a nanny. A nanny doesn't necessarily have to have any training, and the postpartum doula does. And the focus of a nanny is on taking care of that child and playing with that child. And if it's a baby, to take care, to changing diapers, caring for that baby or child. The main goal of a postpartum doula is taking care of the mom, mostly. So she can cook meals for her. She can teach the swaddling thing that you said, or other things about that. She can help with nursing. She can feed the baby through the night if that's a choice of that family. She can be overnight doula, or she can be during the day. She can run errands. She can walk her dog. She can, all of these things in order to support that family to have a good start as a family.
So I didn't know this existed, but my wife she says one day, she's like that culture, like you're having like a doula. She was saying that there's actually like places to go in China where they call it like the fourth trimester, where you go there, and for the first like 3 months, and it's pretty much like, it seems to me the way she described it was like, it would be like having like a whole doula of like staff of doulas that are there. And they make sure the mom eats like super healthy. They make sure that, they teach her how to like change the diaper and do the bathing and like all those things. And at first she told me that, I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I never heard of such a thing. And then I started Googling, and I thought, that is standard there. Like, I don't think it's like standard. I think it's like standard if you have money. But I was like, that is like a really cool thing, right? I mean, this is like a shock to your family and a shock to your timetable and a shock to your sleeping. And so it's so good. So I love the idea of a postpartum somebody there to help, right? Whether if you have like a really good family member or a friend that's going to pretty much spend time with you, or the doula, which seems great because they're like actually educated in this. So what would be the ideal amount of time? Like, the mom comes home from the hospital on a Tuesday, is the doula standing at the front door saying, all right, let's get to work. Like what's when do they show up? Do they stay for 3 months pretty much? Is it like, would a week work? Like, how much time does if you were saying like, okay, what's the ideal situation for this mom and this baby to like get their act together?
Okay. So every family is unique, and every agreement would be unique, trying to address the needs of that family. So you can have a postpartum doula at the front door waiting for you. And you can also have a birth doula that stays during pregnancy, during birth, and 2 hours usually after delivery with you in a hospital, and can even give you a massage. The doula also helps.
I might get a doula for massages. I'm like, keep going.
She can the doula as a doula, some part of my job is supporting the husband or the wife or girlfriend or the partner of that woman during birth as well. Sometimes they don't know exactly how to help, and there is a special connection between this partner and the birthing woman. Since they know each other, there's feelings, there's time that they know each other, so then they can have a special moment together. But then the doula can also give that person some time to breathe and some tips on how to help this woman to cope during birth, and la la la. But to respond to your question in a very clear way, the birth doula usually has an agreement, a contract, where she would give a price for her services. The way I work is offering 2 prenatal sessions, my support during the whole labor and birth, and 1 postnatal session, and that has a cost, like a fixed cost. The postpartum doula, from what I know, usually works per hour. So the family can see what is possible for them financially. And
what if finances weren't the issue? Like you don't want to overspend, but like what's like the ideal, like if if you were doing it for your family, if you weren't already the expert, and or you were going to like do this for your sister or something, and it was like, just like what's ideal for the mom, right? Like not like, obviously everyone wants to save money and do it the best value, but like what's like the best value for the mom without like overdoing it either?
So yeah, it depends, because if this woman is not sleeping at all and she's exhausted, she might prioritize having a postpartum doula overnight to help. If she's okay during the night and this baby is kind of sleeping, or she's okay waking up the whole night, maybe co-sleeping even, she can choose to have a doula just to run errands. So as I said, it depends of the needs of that person, and then in how much money you have to invest. And there's also some institutions here in Philadelphia, I know of a few, of one at least, that offers volunteering doulas. So if the family is in need, they can try to contact that institution and find a volunteer doula. And many doulas also do some negotiating with the family if the family really needs help, in order to make it possible. As doulas, we do charge because this is our profession, but there is also a mentality of offering doula care for everyone.
That's awesome. So do you think I get the idea of the investment. I'm just trying to think of like the ideal timeline. Like, hey, you need a week to set everything up and you're good. Or is it like, yeah, a week's not going to do it. Like, like, so for me, somebody that comes in and they say like, oh, we just want to do martial arts, until baseball starts. That's really not what martial arts is, right? Like martial arts is about continuous growth and improvement. And yeah, like you can learn a couple things like for a couple months, but it's really not what it is. It's really meant to be doing like as a long-term thing, like a college education or religious education or something like that. So for those, that's what we would tell people, right? Like that, it's not going to work. So with doulaing, like I get like the errands and stuff, but as far as like just caring for the mom and educating her, like is there like an ideal amount of time that you think is like, they, like a week is fine. And then after that, like she needs help, great. Or listen, nothing's going to happen in a week. You need like at least a month or 2 months or 3 months. Or I don't know. Is there any like amount of time that makes the most sense from your experience?
No.
Oh my goodness. All right.
caring for a baby and starting, because you are changing. You as a person, you are becoming a father. It's a becoming process. It's not just welcoming the baby. You know, and it's amazing that in China they do that. They offer this community. And
Yeah, it sounds great.
Here in the Western culture, we lack it. And sometimes you're not even aware of it, how important it is to have support from more than one person.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was thinking like what you first told me, and they, you know, they cook with like certain herbs that are all like this, you know, it's like this whole ancient situation of like the mom's got to be super healthy to have good milk for the baby, and you know the baby, you know, gets taken care of in a certain way, and they also teach the mom, and it is exactly what I think the doula does. And I thought like, wow, that's a great idea. And she said the people that can't afford that, usually like the mom and the aunt kind of do the same thing, but it's not as professional like what you would do. So is there anything else you want to add before we just talk about like how if somebody wants to contact you, how they would do that?
Well, there's lots of things to add. Maybe talking with you that is planning on having a baby, starting a family, or adopting, and talking with you who is already pregnant. Prepare yourself. It's very important to have emotional support and information that is evidence-based information. Look into a doula. Find for you what are the best choices. And you are a unique person, and your family has a unique situation, and you need to take a deep breath. Take a deep breath, look inwards, and see what will work for you. A doula is not there to judge.
Of course, of course, of course.
Find the right professionals.
I judge everyone, so I fear the doula doesn't have to do it. I'm already on top of that.
Yeah, no, we do. We as humans, we judge all the time. But in this time of life where you're welcoming this person into the world, you're going to be introducing this person into the world. Finding the best support for you to do that with the best set of mind is very important, right?
Yes. All right. Well, if somebody wanted to contact you, and you do mostly stuff like in, I assume, Lower Bucks, like around Yardley, right?
I live in Yardley, Pennsylvania, which is Philadelphia suburb. So I can go to Philadelphia to the hospitals in Philly. I can go to the area around here, which is Bucks County. I also go to Princeton, New Jersey. So if you need me, or if I'm far from you, I can find recommendations and people to recommend. And my website is Like Water Care, because I believe that a doula should be like water and flow and try to embrace you with your special way of being.
That's beautiful and that's awesome. So that's great. You're going to let me know tomorrow about teaching yoga to our team. So I thank you for that.
Sure.
So you're multifaceted, and then I expect you'll give me a psychology assessment of myself. Thank you, Mila. Let me turn off this recording for a second.
Thank you.